Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Final Bosses podcast. I am joined, of course, by my host, Ultimate Floyd. How you doing, man?
Good. Busy. It's just been so busy with work that I feel like we haven't done one in a while, but it's good to finally get another one of these out there.
Hey man, the wait just makes it so much sweeter when we finally do release one of these. To make this episode that much better, though, we have a guest. We have here an excellent YouTuber by the name of Aether Aesthetics. How you doing, man? I gotta say, really big fan of your work. I'm really, really glad to have you.
Thank you. It's good to be here, actually.
Sweet. I'm glad. Now, just to give the audience, kind of an idea of like who you are and what you do, can you please just tell us like what your videos are, like what your YouTube channel is, and the main crux of your content?
Yeah, so for the last year and a half, I was covering some old video games, kind of talking about how they got made, sort of talking about the design choices and why they were made. I'm really interested in all that stuff, how video games work.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, it's the frontier art form, I think.
I like that. That's a cool way of putting it.
Yeah, it's like the comic books really came into their own in the 80s, wasn't it? Video games are sort of the new that, because they're sort of this garbage medium that no one's really interested in.
This garbage medium.
But no, we all like video games. It's fine. So yeah, I was recently I finished capping off sort of just a retro series where I talked about various games. And now I'm currently running down the Shock games, from System Shock to BioShock.
Yeah, I just recently watched your System Shock 2 video, and I thought it was excellent.
Thank you. Ken Levine didn't think so. He didn't tweet it out.
Aww. What a sourpuss.
He probably didn't.
I would recommend also checking out this guy named The Playing Field. I don't know if you've heard of him. He did a video. Yeah, he did a System Shock 2 video that was also really good. I think you'd I think you'd enjoy it if you haven't seen it yet.
No, I've seen it. I think I put it actually in the recommended videos in the description.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Because maybe it was more so just because there aren't a lot of videos on System Shock 2 out there that I just had to put something down. But I recall seeing it. I recall liking it. His YouTube channel is the one with the X, Y, and Z axes symbol,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's it.
I like that guy. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, I like him too. He's cool. But enough about him. We're here about you right now.
Screw him.
Yeah, fuck that guy. No, I'm just kidding. He's cool. But so yeah, like, what inspired you to want to make these videos?
Mostly it was because I wasn't playing a lot of new video games. I remember Metal Gear Solid 5 came out 2015 and Bloodborne, and I played both of those for a few hundred hours, and I realized at some point that outside of those two games, I hadn't bought a new release in like 3 years or something.
Whoa, okay.
Oh.
And I've always been playing video games, and I saw that there were guys like Matthew Matosi's and Aaron Signal and all those great guys. You have Mark Brown, and they were all talking about it, and it was getting sort of popular. And I thought, hey, I can do that. I can do that if it gets me to play some video games I might not otherwise look at.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm really loving like all these different channels out now, like with analyses of games. Like it's like really in-depth reviews of like old games, new games. It's like my favorite style of a YouTube video. Like I don't really do them myself a whole lot, but like it's one of my favorite things to watch. I just love those types of videos.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same. Like Joseph Anderson has become like one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Was it him who recently made that 7-hour Pokemon video?
No, that wasn't him.
No, yeah, I've seen that though.
I saw him tweet it out.
No, that's a guy named Seamus, and wow, 7 hours. I like a good long video as much as the next guy, but I think 7 hours is. I think that's a bit much. I'm sure it's a great video, but I don't give a fuck about Pokemon enough to sit down for that.
Host's Dark Souls video, like that was really long, but that's because I love that game so much. I love his videos so much, but Pokemon, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, see, I give a fuck enough about Dark Souls to sit through Matthew Matosis's video, and that's a rare thing for me. I would not normally do that, so I don't care about Pokemon enough to do that.
Yeah, I remember there were some moments where he was actually struggling to come up with subjects to talk about. And it was kind of obvious he was talking about like, oh, this sort of looks like Damascus steel. But no, that video is excellent. It's really good.
I've actually heard it's really good, yeah. So I guess a new thing I want to start doing with guests that come onto the podcast is just like give them a general gaming kind of related question. I don't know if it's gonna be the same question every podcast, but I think it's like kind of like the classic question, like what is your favorite video game? Or it doesn't even have to be what's your favorite game, like maybe one of your favorite games, a game that's really like impacted you and something like that you loved growing up, or you think is just like a really special game in some kind of way.
Yeah, so I came to my own during the PlayStation 2 days. So
Classic.
the Jak and Daxters and the Ratchet and Clanks, I really like those games.
I never got into Jak and Daxter, but I fucking love Ratchet and Clank.
They're so good.
So good.
Yeah, those games are really good. Jak and Daxter, I would recommend if you can unlearn what video games have become. You may enjoy them. That's my rousing recommendation. But since then,
forget everything you know, and you might like them.
Since then, I have a strong fondness for like Flash web games, which I know not a lot of people share. There's this excellent game called Dice Wars where you conquer land by throwing dice. I highly recommend it. No one will ever play it though. Only I know about it.
Interesting.
And the obvious ones, which are the Dark Souls, the Zeldas, particularly Majora's Mask, which I think is fantastic.
Oh yeah, your recent video on Ocarina of Time was really good. I really enjoyed that one. You went over the monomyth on that one. It's something I'd heard about, but you actually like went into detail about it, and I thought that was really interesting because I haven't really heard anyone like actually discuss the monomyth. So that and how it applied to Zelda was also really cool.
Yeah, thanks. I was actually kind of hesitant about that video because it got a lot of changes in editing. It was originally just a complete walkthrough of the monomyth. Then I decided, nah, better sprinkle it out because I couldn't find any solid statement from any developer that was something they were going for. But it was. I think they had to have done it, surely.
Right, because the parallels are too strong.
Yeah, I think so.
I know how you feel though about like with the editing, because sometimes when I'm writing a script, not sometimes, every time, I tend to like over edit it. Like I have this tendency where like I'll write something and then I reread it like 50 fucking times and then make changes constantly. And that's why my scripts take forever to make, because I do that constantly.
Yeah, that's it's the iterative process. Did you ever read Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull?
No, I have not.
It's a great book. He's the founder of Pixar, and he's talking about like the early days working with George Lucas and Steve Jobs and all that. And he really goes into that, where the first step of any project you undertake, any creative project, is you're gonna hate it. The second step is you're gonna really hate it, and the further you go on, the more you wish you wouldn't have changed it. You would just have gone back because no, it was perfect, and I changed it. And then he was on like every movie we've ever made at Pixar used to suck, and then we just sort of brute forced it into being good by continuous iteration. So yeah, that's the fact that you're walking into that process yourself means you're probably making great videos yourself.
Oh, thank you. I'd at least like to think that's the case.
Yeah. But back on video games, I think if I had to give like one solid answer, it would either be Shadow of the Colossus as my favorite, or like that Majora's Mask, simply because it's so good. It's so
Majora's Mask is the best Zelda game, like definitely.
no question, no question.
It's pretty great. It's my favorite 3D Zelda for sure. Like, no contest.
Are you the Oracle of Ages defender?
No, I've never actually played that one. My favorite's always probably going to be A Link to the Past. That might be some nostalgia talking, but you know, that's like the first video game I ever played, so it's pretty near and dear to me. But yeah, Majora's Mask is fucking awesome.
I respect that.
Yeah, it's definitely number 2 at least.
A lot of people kind of missed out on those. I really like those games. Like, I mean, I prefer Seasons, I think, but I still like them both.
Yeah, I need to play it. For whatever reason, the handheld ones just passed me by, except for Minish Cap. That's the only handheld Zelda game I actually finished.
Is it good?
I liked it. I thought it was good.
Okay.
Then again, that was back in high school. So, I mean, take that for what you will. High school version of me was fucking stupid.
Minish Cap's quite pretty good.
I relate to that.
Now, let's get into games that we've been playing recently. So, man, last time that we talked on the podcast, I don't think I mentioned the Dark Souls 3, did I?
No, definitely not.
Okay, so since then, I finished Dark Souls 3 DLC and all.
Oh, no, I haven't even done the DLC.
Oh, shit. And you're like, arguably, you're probably a bigger Souls fan than I am. Shit.
It's so weird. I've tried. I have the DLC, but I try to play it. I'm just not in the mood for a Souls game this year. I don't know what it is. I'm just so burnt out on that style of game right now.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have beaten fucking Dark Souls 2 like 5 times.
Maybe. Bloodborne I've played so much. Like my friends keep getting me back into that game, even though I've got the platinum. I've just played that game so much.
So a controversial opinion that I have is, well, Bloodborne is my favorite. Dark Souls 3 is under it.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people are very shocked by that. Before it used to be Dark Souls 1, but I feel that while Dark Souls 1 is probably a more pure experience, I think Dark Souls 3 is mechanically more enjoyable. And Dark Souls 2 is kind of at the bottom, obviously. But yeah, like I was really surprised by Dark Souls 3. Like I've heard some people, have their complaints about it. It's a little too derivative, and the added speed. Some people have complained about it. They don't think it works as well. I like the added speed. I'm not bothered by it. And overall, I just think it's a really fun game to play. The level design is great. The world design, not so much. The world design is not as cohesive as Dark Souls 1, but the level design, just like each individual area, if you look at them within a vacuum, I think each area is really intricately designed, and each area is like really well done. So even if they don't connect in any interesting ways, each individual area is really well crafted, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's. I don't think anyone can really debate that.
And I think the DLC is probably some of the best content in the game as well. The DLC is like really fucking good.
Did you beat Meter, the dragon?
I did not. I tried, and then I was like, "Fuck this."
Is this like?
I've got a fun little story about that dragon.
Ooh, do tell.
My friend bought the DLCs, and I was staying with him. He lives on an island south of Iceland. It's not a big thing, but I was staying with him, and we were basically playing the game. And he had this Dex build character, and he let me play the DLC because I hadn't. And I beat all the bosses. It was going great. And then he said, "Oh, go in there and fight the dragon." I spent a solid 5 hours just retrying before I created a new character. Just my personal build, just strength. I need to fine-tune this piece of armor just to try again. I can't for the life of me understand, because I couldn't beat him. And then I watched videos of guys who are they're just ducking, they're rolling, they're taking no damage. I can't for the life of me understand how they did it, and I am never, ever playing that game again. I am so bitter.
Rage.
No, dude, I totally sympathize with you. I tried fighting that boss, and I was just like, what the fuck? It doesn't feel like a fair fight to me. Like, there's just certain aspects of the fight that feel unfinished, and man, fuck that fight. By the way, Floyd, it's a secret fight. Like, it's like you have to go out of your way to find it.
Thing is, can you do summons? Can you use summons for it?
I don't think so, honestly.
Really?
I don't think so.
Yeah, for Meter, I think you can summon for him.
You can? I didn't notice any.
No, well, my friend went on to beat the dragon on the character I built by summoning, and I was really salty because I didn't want him to beat it either, because I was the guy who was good at Dark Souls.
I'm the fucking good Dark Souls guy here.
I was very bitter about that whole experience. But it's understandable, because I'm just, I'm my rationale at the time was, no, you know what? I'm too good for this game. My time is better allotted somewhere else. Not true.
That time is better spent making videos.
That's true. That's true.
But aside from Dark Souls 3, I also made the mistake of finishing Infamous Second Son.
Mistake.
Yes. Holy crap. The writing in that game is so bad. It's oh man. Now I feel bad because like that game has like really great performances by some like really great actors, and it at times it almost fooled me into thinking that the script was good, but it's not. It's actually like really bad. If like some of the stuff that happens is just bizarre and it makes no sense. Like there's one part the game puts this weird emphasis on the main character's brother, Reggie. He's like driving a bus full of people, and there's this like scene where the people saw the main character Deslin using his powers, and he's like, they don't want you on the bus. He's like, what the fuck? Then let them walk. I don't care. And he's like, hey, these are innocent people. They've never seen anything like you. And it's like this really emotional moment. And then like not that long afterwards, the fucking bus like falls into the water. We don't know what happened to those people. They're probably fucking dead. And then like literally right afterwards, Deslin and his brother are like making shitty jokes. And I'm like, what? What? Yeah, it was like they were trying to sneak into Seattle, and Reggie, the brother, was like, okay, man, just play it cool. And Deslin is like, hey, man, they used to call me Mr. Cool, okay? I'm like, what is this shitty dialogue? What?
I'd blocked out all that shit. You're bringing it back now. No.
It's so bad.
Troy Baker and Travis Willingham, they couldn't sell that dialogue for you.
they tried their hardest, and they really do some great stuff with some really bad material. Honestly,
Wasn't
like
Sucker Punch recently hiring like just a slew of writers?
I'm
I
guessing
think
that's for their new game, Ghost of Tsushima.
I didn't even know they were making that game.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be this stealth samurai game, which kind of doesn't make sense because samurais aren't stealthy. So it's probably more of a ninja game, I guess. But it looks cool. Anyways, Acer, what have you been playing recently?
I've been recently going through the BioShock games. I finally played the BioShock Infinite DLCs, and much like you with First Son, because I've been saving those because those were the last things of BioShock, and I really loved those games. Much like you with Second Son, I really regret playing them because they're a bunch of nonsense.
That's what
Damn.
I've heard. I've heard.
You like those DLCs?
No, I haven't played the DLCs. I just heard they're not very good.
Yeah, it's a bunch of like a real problem, and I'll probably not make the Bioshock Infinite videos to discuss this, but a real problem the Bioshock Infinite game has is you cannot have like the naturally forming story development progression stuff when Elizabeth is just barreling every single thing you need to know over you. And I don't know. I'm very bitter that I didn't like those, like the DLCs.
I never played Infinite itself. I've never played Bioshock 2 either. How were those?
Infinite is Infinite is it's a project that got kind of screwed up by the producers because Ken Levine had spent like 5 years and he had ballooned the budget in making it, and there was a shift in upper management or something, and the guys were like, either release it now or don't. So they kind of butchered his work.
Okay, so
Be this.
it feels like an incomplete work.
Yeah, originally in the original trailers, even they were sapping in between separate dimensions, and they were altering the timelines willy nilly, and it was really interesting. And the city would form naturally, and it would change, and it was like this amazing living, breathing thing. And then, like the actual game is just go from point A to point B, shoot a bunch of guys.
That sounds really disappointing.
2, I think, is sort of a forgotten gem. I think it's better than BioShock Infinite. I don't think it reaches. BioShock Infinite has it tried. BioShock 2 is a very safe sequel.
I've heard that like BioShock 2 is like a surprisingly like solid game.
Yeah, it's really the themes of BioShock 1 are just exploring how it's like the Andrew Ryan is like this objectivist capitalist philanthropist, and he does these things, and the theme is exploring, and Ken Levine talked about it, the game director. He talked about it's about exploring not objectivism, it's about exploring how philosophical extremes lead people to tyranny. And BioShock 2, it sort of carries that theme onwards, but where BioShock 1 had these capitalists that were ruining everything, BioShock 2 has these sort of collectivist socialists that are ruining everything. And when in BioShock 1 the player was a slave, in BioShock 2 they're the only one who's like free to actually think. It's a really interesting sequel in those terms, but it also feels like they just sort of mirrored the first game.
Okay, it's a little too similar to the first game.
Yeah, it's both. Have you played the first game?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's just do a spoiler warning for everyone listening. The player's guide to the game, Atlas, turns out to be a bad guy. And is it okay if I spoil BioShock 2 for you?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't plan on playing it anyways.
Okay. In BioShock 2, the player's guide turns out to have been a bad guy, but he was actually sort of reforming, and he was helping the player, and he ultimately sacrificed his life for him. And like everything...
that actually sounds like an interesting subversion.
Yeah, everything is subverted. The capitalism is changed into, now the individualism, I should say, is changed into collectivism. The player as a slave is turned into the player as the free guy. It's all really interesting in those, if you look at it like that. But it's still, it doesn't have that magic the first game had.
Okay. I'm gonna have to reveal a hot take though. I don't like the first BioShock. I find the story interesting. Most of my gripes are like gameplay focused.
Is it because of all those Pizza Hut boxes again? The listeners won't know what we're talking about.
So maybe it was my fault for playing the PS3 version, but I tried playing the game without the Vita chambers because I felt like that completely kneecapped the gameplay experience. But as a result of trying to play it like that, every time I would die, I would have to deal with this agonizingly long loading screen every single time, and that just made the game really frustrating to play for me. And yeah, I may have should have played it instead on PC, but yeah, that left a really sour taste in my mouth.
Having played it on both, I can tell you the PC version is obviously it's the preferred version.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can understand because you don't want to repeat 40 minutes of gameplay.
Because like I really despise the whole idea of the Vita chambers, because what would be the point of doing anything if the moment that you die, you are immediately revived, and like let's say you're fighting an enemy and you chopped his health in half, and then you died and you come back and his health is still in half. Like there's no consequences. There's no like punishments. It's just progression, I guess. It doesn't feel like there's any stakes.
Yeah, that's I completely agree with that. It was funny because in System Shock 2, the spiritual predecessor, you actually lost money when you were revived, and you had to manually activate the revives, which made going through the levels really interesting. You had to sort of stealth around the first time, and you had to sort of search it out, trying to avoid as many battles as you possibly could. And then after activating it, you could sort of release your conservative playstyle and experiment a little with it. But in BioShock, that's sort of gone. The Shock series formula got diluted by 2K Studios, I guess.
Yeah, I heard that. I never played it myself, but I heard Prey was also kind of like a System Shocky type of game.
Yeah, I heard that. I played the demo, the first 5 minutes of it, and I thought this is going to suck, so I'm not going to play any more of it. But then I heard that it was actually pretty good, so maybe it's something to go back to.
I know Floyd here has played it.
Yeah, it's definitely more like System Shock 2 than BioShock is, that's for sure. I liked the game. I thought Prey was pretty good, but I thought it kind of fell apart towards the end. But it's still, I think, worth playing. It's a pretty interesting game.
I might get it on a sale. I don't know.
It's already pretty cheap, isn't it?
I don't know. Is it?
I'm gonna buy it on a fire sale and never play it.
That's how I feel like half of my Steam library. It's like it's something I picked up because it was cheap, and I'll probably never play it.
Look at how cheap it is. I'll definitely play all these games. Oh, the Serious Sam collection. Look at it. It's only $5.
Yeah. I mean, I do buy them because I did intend to play them, but what ends up happening is you just have this fucking huge list, and it's like, God, I never have time to play any of these. Is that all that you've been playing?
No. If we kind of want to bend the definition of a video game, I've been taking my driver's license, and that's been going terribly. So I've been playing Driving Sim 2011.
Uh,
And imagine this, guys. You're in this beat up, old, ugly looking Honda something, driving through downtown farm city in Germany. Every single road sign is in German because it was a German crack or something. And all the rules you're trying to read, they're also in German. Now,
What the fuck?
now look, the thing is, I understand a bit of German. Like I studied some German. I kind of get the lingo, but I have my driving education book on the side, and I'm trying to sort of at the same time Google Translate it on my phone to try. And it's a miserable experience, and I think I'm becoming a worse driver, if anything, because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh wow! I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that much to get my driver's license.
Oh, it's really, but it's just fun. It's fun to do those things. What about you guys? What have you guys been playing?
Well, I already talked about Dark Souls and Infamous. So, what have you been playing, Floyd?
well, I just bought Xenoblade 2. I want to start playing that probably tomorrow, but I'm in the middle of Resident Evil 7. I had planned to play it when it first came out. I think it came out back in like January, but I don't know, for whatever reason I played like the first like 25% of it at a friend's place and just I don't know, never came back to it. So I borrowed it from a friend, and I'm kind of playing through it now. I think I'm almost at the end, and I really like it. It's I feel like it's like closer to the old Resident Evil games than the series has been for a very long time. It really feels like a first-person version of the first one. It kind of has like the singular environment, although it's starting to get like there's starting to become like more environments now, and it's becoming a little different. But it's got like the inventory management of the old games. If you play it on the harder difficulties, it's got like that survival horror feel where there's like very limited ammo, and you have to be really careful. It's got the interconnected environment where you're unlocking shortcuts. The only difference is, I guess, like, well, one of the differences is like the puzzle design. It's not like super obtuse like in the old games, which I've never been a big fan of the old style puzzles. This game, they're maybe perhaps a little too simplified, but they're still kind of enjoyable for what they are. And the combat, I don't know, you think it wouldn't work all that well in first person, but I kind of like the combat. Uh, Even though there's not too much of it. The boss battles, I think, are really interesting. The game's got like this amazing atmosphere to it. It's just really creepy. This Louisiana setting, like this swamp setting, and then you've got this family that you're contending with that has like this infection kind of. I don't know where the story is exactly going right now, but I'm kind of digging it. Although it's, well, no, that would be a spoiler. I won't say it, but it's becoming a little more predictable as I get towards the end, which is, I don't know, it's a little unfortunate, but I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I do want to. I wish I got to try it in VR though. I feel like this is one of those games that would be amazing in VR, and I've heard it is. I kind of want to like go to a friend's place and like try it in VR, because I feel like horror games are like where the VR would be at its best for me. Like I think it would just be a really immersive, just actually genuinely scary experience. But yeah, it's surprisingly good. I think it's feels it. I don't know. It's really good. It's probably the best Resident Evil game since the fourth one, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Is that a high bar of quality though? That's the question.
Well, I mean, 4 is pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. I mean that is like every subsequent Resident Evil game kind of rapidly decreased in quality. Isn't that the way it went?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think 5 gets a little more shit than it deserves, although 5 is definitely a substantial step down compared to 4, but it's way better than 6, which is a fucking dumpster fire. Oh man, I beat Resident Evil 6 with a friend of mine. The two of us played it together, and at first we were excited and like having a good time, just kind of laughing how bad the game is, and then towards the end it broke our spirits, and by the end we were just like so fucking done with it. We were just so ugh. And what was worse was like after we finished the main campaigns, around that time Capcom was like, oh, we made the Ada campaign, which was DLC, for free, and we were like, ugh. We played through that too, and I think we hated it more than the main game. It had these really shitty stealth sections. Like, oh, fuck Resident Evil 6. What a piece of shit.
It's weird. I played through it with my brother, and like it's not a good game, but there's, I don't know, we kind of had fun, I guess, goofing on it. But I don't know. That game's way too long too. That game's like 30 hours. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for some reason it's really fucking long. That's one thing I was happy about Resident Evil 7. Like, I think Resident Evil 7 was like the perfect length. Like, it didn't feel like it was too short, and it definitely didn't overstay its welcome. I think it ended where it should have.
Yeah. Didn't Resident Evil 6 launch with like a horrible co-op mode?
Yeah, each campaign you play as 2 characters, and it comes with like, I think, split screen as well as online co-op. Yeah. Anything else other than Resident Evil 7?
Yeah, I just finished Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. It's good. It's weird. Like, I feel like there's like, I don't know. It's trying to be this stealth game, yet the stealth mechanics are terrible. And it's got like this really awful like reinforcement system where if you're caught, the commanders just constantly send reinforcements. So then you're kind of forced to go guns blazing, and it's like the health system is like so weird that it's very hard to go guns blazing because you only get like 50 health at maximum, and any health packs you pick up give you like a temporary health boost where it will just keep decreasing. So you have to end up rushing, but you can't really rush because then you'll just get killed by the enemies all over the place. And you can't really take your time either. I don't know, it's a really frustrating game, like gameplay wise, but the narrative is actually really interesting. I like it. Like, I like what they do with the main character, with BJ as a character. Like, his childhood stuff I think is really powerful and kind of disturbing. And there's like some really over the top shit in that game that I don't want to spoil. That's just like some of the craziest stuff I've seen in a video game. The way that the places that story goes is just like insane. I think it's worth playing purely for the narrative alone, despite the gameplay kind of being kind of meh. Also, put it on like the easiest difficulty. Like, that's the only way I could have any fun with that game, because I could actually like go guns blazing, like dual wielding shotguns, just like plow through everything in my way. Otherwise, it's just like this really slow paced, tedious experience. But yeah, I don't know if it's better than the New Order or not. But it's still, I don't know, it's still like kind of a minor recommendation for me.
Yeah, I wasn't too enthused with the New Order.
That was all right.
I thought the narrative in the New Order was really confused, especially like tonally. It played everything like absolutely straight, but everything that was happening was so utterly ridiculous that it gave me like this whiplash.
I feel like this one's a little, maybe it's a little more like it knows how it's crazy a little more this time, but at the same time, I don't know. Yeah, it's a little more self-aware. I don't know. It's still weird though, because it can go from like this over-the-top craziness to like this really disturbing stuff that has to do with like BJ's childhood and his father. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I just remember in the first game, it was just really bad. Like the characters were being chased down by these giant like robot killer dog things, which is just a completely absurd concept, but it's shot and framed in the cinematography was just like so like, this is real shit, like this is really gritty, this you take this seriously, okay? Like, what the it's like this giant fucking metal dog.
Wasn't there a scene in that game where you go into a mech in a Nazi death camp?
Yeah, I think there was. Yeah, I think something like that happened.
How did they get away with that?
I I don't know, man. Like it was a weird ass game.
Oh man, this one's way weirder. Like, there's a scene in this game that is one of the most absurd things I've ever seen in a video game. That I think a lot of people are gonna hate it, but I kind of admired it. It was just so out there that I was just like, you know what? Okay, I'm in. I'm all for that.
Okay, now I kind of want to play it just to see this.
Yeah, no, it's either that or like watch like, I don't know, let's play of it or something. It's a very weird game that's got some like really memorable stuff in it.
That's cool.
Cool. All right, so we've got some news to talk about, and this first piece of news speaks to the core of my being. There might be a Devil May Cry 5. Finally! Finally! I've been waiting so long for this.
Developed by Ninja Theory.
Fuck you! Don't you dare! Get that trash out of my face, man. Oh my god, that reboot was so pretentious. It was so up its own ass. Like, oh, the writing was so bad. And whenever I mention that the writing is bad in the Ninja Theory game, everyone always like spits back like, oh, the writing is bad in the other games too. Man, no, fuck you. Those games weren't trying to have good stories. They knew they were cheesy and schlocky, and they owned up to it, and they were just bombastic and over the top, and clearly they knew how cheesy they were, but they didn't care. They just owned up to it, while Ninja Theory's game was just so pretentious. It was trying so hard to tell a really engaging narrative, and instead it shoves this obnoxious version of Dante down their throats. It gives him this arc that doesn't even make any sense. It's barely even an arc. He doesn't really grow that much as a person, but they try to portray it that way, and oh god, fuck that game. What a piece of shit. So I'm super happy that my main man Hideaki Itsuno is coming back to show these fucks how it's done.
But wasn't Dante's arc in the reboot? Wasn't it just that he got white hair? Wasn't that the sum of his arc?
Like I think what they were trying to do was, like, in the beginning of the game, he's like detached and he's just like, I don't care, meh. And then like he gets with Kat, and then Kat kind of shows him, no, look, you should care. And then at the end he's like, I guess maybe I should care.
Wow, that's a really engaging story you just told. Did you see those interviews with the director of the remake?
He looks like Dante.
Yeah,
in the reboot.
Like Dante's, or he made Dante's hair look like his.
Yeah, he looks like the same character as the creators. Like, that's weird. Isn't that one of the prerequisite? Not a prerequisite, but isn't that one of the conditions of the Mary Sue stereotype? That the character is a reflection of the author in some way?
Yeah.
So I guess the Devil May Cry, it's like going to be at what, some conference or something? I guess it was leaked.
When I read the article, what it basically said was originally it was going to be revealed at the PlayStation Expo, but then what happened was the PlayStation Expo sized itself down, and one of the things that got cut for announcement was Devil May Cry 4. And apparently some people at Capcom got annoyed with how long it's taken to reveal that there is in fact a Devil May Cry 5 in development. So they just kind of leaked it.
That's funny. Interesting. Happened too much.
Well, Capcom leaks happen all the time.
Intentional leaks?
I don't know if they're intentional, but I've just noticed that Capcom leaks are just kind of common. They're not rare at all.
Why would they cut Devil May Cry though? I mean, they're probably going to show that, what's it, like Days Gone, that zombie game, or they're probably gonna, like, they have a bunch of these sort of generic games they're always sorting out. Remember how they cut out the last time at E3? They ended by showing Spider-Man, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they were originally gonna show Red Dead 2 was the story. But because of the shooting that had occurred, they decided to change it, which was why they referenced it all the time. I don't know. Isn't that the time where you say, hey, let's do something crazy and let's show them Devil May Cry instead of showing them Spider-Man again?
That would be cool, but I don't know. I guess they didn't have as much faith in the brand compared to like showing a Spider-Man game. I don't know. Well, not only that, but that was E3, so I guess that was like big boy games only, and they, I guess Devil May Cry doesn't carry the same weight as Spider-Man. I don't know. Whatever. I'm just happy to know that this is going to happen. Technically, it's still considered in the realm of like it's a rumor, but like there's just so much like very specific details about it that I don't think it's outside of the realm of like possibility. Like it seems pretty probable to me.
Yeah, I think it's probably it's gonna happen. I think.
So I want to ask what games in the series have you guys played? Because like I'm a pretty hardcore fan of the series. I've beaten 1 through 4, all of them multiple times. Yes, even 2 to my own chagrin. Like 2 sucks. And despite that, I've probably beaten 2 like 5 or 6 times just because I'm an insane fan of the series. I've even beaten the reboot multiple times. I don't even like the reboot, but I beat it multiple times. Yeah, I'm that kind of crazy fan. So, Acer, how many games in the series have you played?
I played 1. I played 2. I played 3. I played the collection, I think. I didn't play 4 yet. I remember watching Matthew Matos's video on it. That should count, isn't it? Even if you haven't played Devil May Cry, you can just watch his video on it.
Yeah, that's basically like vicariously through him playing the game. It's a great video. Like that's one of my favorite videos by him.
Yeah, it's really good because it isn't 5 hours long. It's only 2 hours long.
Much more manageable.
How did Devil May Cry 3 end? I recall being in like a giant tower or something.
The ending of the game, well, Dante fights Virgil in the demon world, and afterwards they escape, or Dante escapes rather, and Virgil is stuck there, and Dante ends up back at his store where it's dilapidated, and then during the credits, you have to kill like 100 demons. And then when you do, then it shows you an extra secret ending where Virgil is shown that he's going to fight Mundus, who is the main antagonist of Devil May Cry 1.
Yeah, that giant white guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably didn't finish.
See, I knew all of that verbatim. That's I'm so bad.
Yeah, I didn't even remember how that game ended. Even though I love it.
I will say though that like I barely remember anything about Devil May Cry 2 because that game is so forgettable.
Remember the fight against the infected helicopter?
I do remember that. That boss fight was
so
shit.
terrible.
I always thought it was stupid. It's like it's a zombie helicopter and there's also like a zombie tank at some point.
I'll always remember that. Those fights are so bad that I'll always remember them.
So which ones have you played, Floyd?
I played all of them except for the reboot. Actually, I want to play the reboot because I want to do a series review because I love the Devil May Cry games. I think they're all, well, not 2, but they're all good from what I played. Like I played Devil May Cry 2 an unhealthy amount actually, because when the collection came out, I was obsessed with achievements. So the achievements for those games required you to play them multiple times. I
Ooh.
beat Devil May Cry 2 like 6 times. I'm not even joking. It was stupid. I don't know why. It was such a horrible part of my life that I regret. But yeah, that game is. I cannot believe I played such a bad game so often. But the first one, I don't know. I feel like the fourth game is pretty underrated. I actually like Devil May Cry 4 a lot. I really like playing as Nero, actually. But the first game's really good. It feels a little... I feel like the third one is a little better, like, mechanics-wise and things like that. But they're all, like, number 1, 3, and 4, they're all really good. I really enjoy those games.
Well, I think 3 is the greatest action game ever made.
I suck at Devil May Cry games though. Like I remember when the third game came out. Remember how it was like everyone complained it was too hard? They actually had to make like a special edition and lower the difficulty, because I think the hard mode from the Japanese release was the normal mode for
the
US.
That's
release.
exactly what happened.
So that game was too hard for me when it first came out. I was like way too much for me.
Yeah, I remember when I got it in high school, and I remember it being pretty tough, but I still was able to finish it.
On Dante Must Die mode, I've done every game on that difficulty except for number 3. I don't know if I just, for whatever reason, I just really suck at that one. I just could not get through it.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm just really glad that we're finally getting a new Devil May Cry game, and even better that Hideaki Itsuno is going to be behind it. Technically, this is still in the realm of rumors, but whatever. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. It's about time, especially since the Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition sold pretty well, based on what I heard, so it makes sense. Now, the next story that we have on the docket is...
But wait, let's just quickly stop. What if they reveal it and it's a sequel to the remake?
Don't even.
Ninja Theory's developing it, but the guy he's directing it.
Oh my god, no! In an ideal world, that reboot would have never even existed to begin with. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if my heart could take that.
I feel like Mega Man Legends 3 canceled.
That would literally be equivalent. Like, dude, I was so hyped for Mega Man Legends 3. I was so excited. When that got canceled, that was the fucking worst.
Yeah. Even the demo got canceled.
We didn't even get the demo! Oh, that game got fucked so hard. Now I'm just bummed.
I swear we brought this up in another podcast.
We probably did, because it's such a shitty thing that happened. And okay, let's move on to something else that will also probably annoy me. So there's the producer of the Star Ocean series is saying that he wants to reboot Star Ocean. So
okay, after the 5th one, I don't even care anymore. Rip Star Ocean. Rip.
So Acer, have you played a single Star Ocean game before?
I saw the question beforehand that we were going to be talking about it, and I wrote like short things I could say about every question. What I wrote there was be either enthusiastic or hate it based on what they say. So no, I haven't.
Okay.
Well then, yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, you best hate it now. All right, so the first 2 Star Ocean games I would feel confident in saying are pretty great games. This is contentious, but I think Star Ocean 3 is a pile of dog shit. Star Ocean 4 has great combat, but awful writing. And Star Ocean 5 is just... bleh. It's just... Star Ocean 5 is just a dumpster fire. Like, really fucking bad. So this series is like extremely hit or miss. It's like on complete opposite ends of the spectrum. It's either like really good or just like the worst. So a Star Ocean reboot like has me feeling like very trepidatious. Just like I mean, if it's anything like Star Ocean 5, like I don't want to have anything to do with it. Like I'm ugh. I I I was so disappointed by 5. I went into that game wanting to like it so bad because I I really feel like this series has like such untapped potential. It's a freaking sci-fi action RPG series where you explore different planets. Just the concept is so cool, and
They fucked
they
that up.
fucked it up so bad. And all I see now is another opportunity to continue to fuck it up.
I feel the same.
So Acer, if you ever feel inclined to play any Star Ocean game, just play 1 and 2, and that's it.
All right.
Like maybe 4, but only if you skip the cutscenes because the writing is really bad, but the gameplay is actually pretty good.
Okay. But what kind of like how do they play? What kind of? I'm just gonna quickly Google it.
They're action RPGs, so Star Oceans 1 and 2 are like the first one was a Super Famicom game, although we never got that version. Star Ocean 2 was a PS1 game. So the combat in those games were a bit simplistic and rudimentary. But as the series kind of progressed, they changed the combat. In 3, I think the combat in 3 is kind of bad, but it's an early PS2 game. Was it early? It might have been a mid. It might have been like a mid-generation PS2 game. Yeah. But the combat's still pretty bad in that game. Like, it hasn't aged well at all. But I'd say the combat in Star Ocean 4 is pretty good. You learn different moves as you play through the game, and you can like chain your attacks together. It's pretty fun. And Star Ocean 5's combat is literally just copy and paste of Star Ocean 3's, which is so baffling to me. Like, Star Ocean...
They went back?
Yeah, Star Ocean 4 had, like, the clearly superior combat system, but they went backwards to Star Ocean 3's combat for Star Ocean 5, and they just, like, tweaked it a little bit, so it was just a little bit better.
No. And the director wants to reboot it.
Yeah, he wants to reboot it, which honestly makes sense, especially because there's a certain plot revelation in Star Ocean 3 that is... It's honestly, like, franchise-breakingly bad.
It's pretty infamous, like, even among people that don't really play Japanese RPGs.
Yeah.
Like, it's considered one of the worst plot twists in a video game.
It's pretty bad, like, because it's not just a bad plot twist that's in this one game. It's so bad, it's a plot twist that affects the entire series negatively.
Do we want to go into spoilers? I'm kind of intrigued.
Yeah, why not? Most people listening to this probably know what it is anyways, but just in case, we'll throw it out that we're going to spoil it.
The statute of limitations on spoiler warnings for this game has probably run out, right?
Sure. It turns out that you're playing a game within a game.
God.
Yeah, not only that, but like, here's what makes it worse. Star Ocean is the world of Star Ocean is our universe. So it's basically saying our universe is actually an MMO RPG for another dimension.
I don't have patience for this. What?
Isn't that the worst?
Yep.
Like, it completely invalidates like the rest of the series because it's like, why should you care? You're playing an MMO.
I don't know. God. Ugh.
It makes no sense. It's so bad. What's even worse is that at one point in Star Ocean 3, the characters develop like technology that allows them to go into the dimension that created them. So it's kind of like the equivalent of like creating a video game, and the video game characters became, the AI was sophisticated enough for them to be able to come through your TV screen. Like, that's how ridiculous it is.
Oh my god.
It's bad.
You really build up to it.
There was no build up. Like, it is so random. Oh god, it was fuck that game. I don't understand why people like that game so much.
I think this is when you call in game theory, no, Ninja Theory essay to fix this broken franchise. Like they fixed Devil May Cry.
I mean, I give Ninja Theory a lot of shit, but like, man, they could do way better than that. Like,
like a game within a game that's like
yeah, just thinking about it makes your brain hurt. It's just.
These look like, I'm looking at screenshots here. These don't look like 8-hour long games. These look like 20-30 hour long games. Am I right?
Oh yeah, they're pretty lengthy. They're pretty lengthy.
Longer than that.
I think the first one is pretty short though. The first one is like 20-30 hours.
If I had been playing a game for 20 hours and the game threw that in my face, I would kick my TV. I would my foot through my TV.
No,
That was like 40 hours in too. Like that was like towards the end of the game when that happened, I think.
Yeah, you're right. It was towards the end of the game. That wasn't something that happened like halfway through. That was like almost near the end.
I'm physically tired.
just hearing about it. All right, let's move on to a greener pasture. So apparently there might be a possible Legacy of Kain revival. I heard about this from one of my followers. Apparently the Crystal Dynamics Twitter kind of hinted at it. It was kind of like a nudge nudge and a wink wink. So I fucking love the Legacy of Kain series. Not so much for the gameplay, but just because of the great character writing. The only bad one in the bunch is Blood Omen 2, and that's because Amy Hennig had nothing to do with it, and it shows because that game is weird and contradicts the canon and the continuity really badly. But the rest of the series is really, really good. The first Blood Omen is also kind of a weird one because it was made by Silicon Knights. But after that, Soul Reaver 1, Soul Reaver 2, and Defiance were made by Crystal Dynamics themselves. And most importantly, headed by Amy Hennig. And she was really like the lifeblood of the series. I think she also had influence in the original Blood Omen. But I'm not like too sure about that. But she directed the other games. So if there is a Legacy of Kain revival and she's not a part of it, I'm going to be very worried. And now would be the perfect time because she used to work. She used to work at Visceral, and Visceral is gone now. So now's the time. Get her. Let's make this happen. So how do you guys feel about the Legacy of Kain series?
Never played a single one. I don't have much to say.
You fuck.
Yeah, I've not played any of them.
Okay. You don't have to play them. You have to at least like sit down and watch the cutscenes or something because the story is that good. Like the writing is like really good. Even like the dialogue is a little overly like Shakespearean at times, and that's like one of the bigger flaws. But other than that, like, there's like really amazing character moments. It's like the really interesting story. Like it has one of the best like time travel stories in a game that like it really like takes advantage of it in really interesting ways. So just at least watch some the cutscenes of the game, or like an analysis video or something, or anything, because it's like because the games haven't aged that well gameplay wise, but the stories still hold up.
Yeah, because I've looked at them gameplay wise, and I'm like, I don't think I could do that. I go play a game like that, but an analysis video or something.
What about you, Acer?
I haven't played any of those games either.
Oh.
So I'm the only one that gives a fuck.
But I can say this, because we talked about it earlier. Amy Hennig directed Jak 3, the best Jak game. It's better than Jak 2,
shit.
I didn't know
even though people say it isn't.
I did not know that.
Oh, Jak 2, a lot of people hate.
Wow, that's interesting. I had no idea.
It's also the best Naughty Dog game.
Ooh, strong words.
Still need to play it. I've only played the Jak and Daxter one.
Now we're going to get into the viewer questions. We've got a shit ton of questions. You guys never cease to amaze me with the amount of questions you guys just send in. So our first question is by Jean Leonhardt. He asks, top 3 Tales games and bottom 3 Tales games. No spin-off, just main entries. So first off, Acer, had you ever played a Tales game before?
They're like Telltales, or?
No, Tales of Symphonia, Tales of Eternia.
Oh! No, but I've heard of them.
Okay, because Floyd and I are pretty big fans.
Really dry podcast. We haven't played anything.
It's okay. Don't worry.
We don't know what we're talking about.
That's half the fun.
No, I can't say that, but I'm looking at a list of them, and I guess I can just rearrange it in any way possible, and you'll just edit it in.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there is a lot. Because there's also like spin-offs as well as the main entries.
Oh, it's like Final Fantasy, where they have Final Fantasy 13 2.
Yes.
This side story.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Basically, the Tales series is Final Fantasy, but as more anime and an action RPG instead of turn-based. Although Square Enix changed that with 15, but whatever. The game that they never finished.
What?
Still.
Tales or Final Fantasy 15?
Final Fantasy 15, that game, they're still making that game. They never stopped. They released that game, and they are still making it. That game is patched. I think that game has been patched more than any other game I've ever owned.
But is it a case of they're adding content, or the game just was not complete?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Oh, gee, that's not
Like
good.
when Final Fantasy 15 released, it was a glitchy mess. And when I last played it, I only played for a little bit, just because I'm kind of waiting for them to actually like finish it. It didn't seem nearly as glitchy. And it seems now they're just like adding content. Like they just announced that in December or later in the month, they're going to add character swapping. Because you could only before play as the main character, and now they're going to make it so that you can switch and play as the other characters if you wanted to.
Okay. Jesus, this doesn't bode well for Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh yeah, I don't know what that game
Yeah,
would be like.
I'm a little worried about that.
Well, that's on. I think they're making that game on Unreal, so it's probably going to be a lot smoother. But no, Tales games, I can't say anything. They're all pretty good, I guess. They're pretty bad.
I like it. All right, well, I guess for me, I'll start with the bottom ones because I like bad news first and then the good news. So for me, the bottom 3 Tales games would have to be, obviously, Symphonia 2. That game is trash. I don't think a single person is really gonna fight me on that. Even the people who like that game are like, yeah, I get where you're coming from. Like, like Symphonia 2 is garbage. I'm also gonna throw in Tales of Zestiria. Man, that game is not great. And you'll fun fact, in case you didn't know, that's my next review, and I've been tirelessly editing the script and writing it, and I'm up to like 13 pages now, and I don't even feel like I'm halfway done with all of my gripes with that game. So that should be fun. And I think let's see. I don't know if it's fair to say Hearts R just because I haven't finished it yet. So I guess I'll say Legendia instead. I don't really hate Legendia. No, wait, I take it back. Oh, wait, shit, because he said no spin-offs, just main entries. Yeah, okay, fine, I'll leave Legendia. Legendia, it's the most, like, game in the series, in my opinion. It's pretty inoffensive. Like, it's not terrible, but it's not that good either. So, as for my top 3, obviously got to go with Abyss. Abyss is pretty high up there for me. It's easily my favorite in the series. I really enjoyed Xillia 2. That game gets a weird amount of hate, and I never really understood why.
Yeah, it's really good. I like it.
Yeah, that game gets a weird amount of hate. I don't really get it. I think that game is pretty awesome. It's really cool. And I guess, what else would I put up there? You know what? I'll throw in Vesperia. Like, Vesperia is really, really, really good. The more I reflect on Vesperia, the more I'm like, yeah, Vesperia is like really awesome. So I'll put Vesperia. So what about you, Floyd?
So I'll start with the top. Vesperia is my favorite still. I just love that game.
Yeah, fair enough.
Then Berseria actually.
Oh yeah,
is number 2.
Yeah, that one is really good.
Really fucking good.
That one is really good.
And then I would go Abyss, I think.
Yeah,
third
Abyss.
Spot. Yeah. It's a really strong one. And bottom 3, since Symphonia 2 is the worst, like there's no question. Then I'm gonna go Destiny, Tales of Destiny, and then Fantasia, which I'll get a lot of hate for that, but I couldn't finish them. The spells interrupting battle, that was enough for me to just be like, nope, I can't.
Well,
it just completely ruined those games for me.
Okay, fair enough.
They're at the bottom.
I mean,
for me.
I don't really, because I get where you're coming from, but like that alone wouldn't be enough for me to like throw them under the bus so much. But you know, I can't really argue with that. At the same time, though, Fantasia does have a PSP version where the spell interruption isn't a factor anymore. But the problem is it's in Japanese only. So
yeah, I mean, if it has to be Tales games I've finished, it's like Zestiria. Probably I'll get a lot of hate for that as well. But I have a lot of issues with that game.
With Zestiria?
No, Grace is F.
Fuck you! I love that game.
It's great. Everything else sucks. I hate everything else about it.
You fucking hater. That game gets so much undeserved hate, man. Whatever. You're entitled to your shitty opinion.
Damn right I am.
All right. The next question is, what do you think about Rogue Galaxy as a game? I think it's okay.
I have not played it. Can't say anything.
Acer?
I'm just Googling it because I haven't played it, but I want to form an opinion.
Yeah, our podcast, like, we both really love JRPGs a lot,
Yeah.
so we tend to get a lot of JRPG-focused questions.
Yeah.
I usually, if I play a JRPG, I will love it so much. but they're so long.
No, yeah,
They are. Yeah.
So rarely get the time.
yeah.
Uh,
JRPGs are always the best when you're a kid, and as an adult, they're so much harder to enjoy.
yeah, that's true. I'm looking at like steampunk pirates in space. I like it. I think this is something I could have delved into.
I definitely want to play it. I have it on the PS4. It's the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad game. I just think it's I think it overstays its welcome. I think it's a game that's a little too long. And one thing that really bugged me is this is made by Level 5, and some of their previous games, Dark Clouds 1 and 2, had randomized dungeons. So the dungeons looking a bit redundant, I guess, made sense in that respect. But the problem is Rogue Galaxy still carries over that kind of design philosophy, but they're not actually randomized, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like you're running around these areas that feel like they're randomized areas even though they're not. So that was like one of my biggest beefs with the game. But I guess it kind of makes up for that cuz like the areas are like fucking huge. So at least there's like a breadth of content, but whatever. I think it's a decent game. It's all right. Nothing to go out of your way for, in my opinion. Next question is, do you know a second language in any capacity? Sí, yo hablo español y nada más. Yeah, I don't know any other languages other than English and Spanish. I used to know a little bit of French, but that's it. What about you, Acer?
English, I'm pretty good at it. I have, like I pointed out earlier, I have fading German skills. I also have fading Danish skills and naturally Icelandic.
Cool. What about you, Floyd?
Jeez. Yeah, I'm English, and then I knew a little bit of French. I took French growing up, but I've kind of lost all of that. So yeah, just English.
Yeah.
You guys are both predominantly English speaking, aren't you?
Yeah, in Canada, it's like English is the official language, but like French is also an official language, and you get taught French in school, and you can have the choice of doing French immersion, so doing all the subjects in French. That's one of my big regrets in life. I really wish I had done that, but
I live in South Florida, and in Miami specifically, and everyone here is basically Hispanic. So I have to juggle between speaking English and Spanish pretty regularly.
yeah, like I live in like a very Portuguese speaking part of Toronto, so like the mall I work at, like a bunch of Portuguese people, so it makes me wish I knew Portuguese. Like
Yeah, my coworkers all speak Spanish, and my Spanish is enough to carry a conversation, but it's not like totally fluent. So unfortunately, like there are times where I'll try to say something and I can't find the words, or I tend to have a better time understanding what's being said to me rather than saying it. Like I can usually carry a conversation well enough, but like it's much better for me to just like hear what someone is saying and I can like pick it up pretty easily rather than to like tell them something.
Yeah.
right, yeah, that's the same with my coworkers.
So next question is, what is your favorite pizza restaurant? Anthony's Coal-Fire Pizza. That place is awesome. That is.
Is that like Miami
I don't
only?
think so. It might be.
I've never heard of that.
It might be. I think the story. Actually, you know what? It might actually be. I think the story was that the owner used to live in New York, and when he came down to Miami, he was like, "These pizza places suck. I'm gonna open my own." So yeah, it is a chain though. I've seen multiples, but I guess it's just a chain down here. Yeah, you were gonna say something, Floyd?
Oh, it's weird. Like I feel like Canada, there's not a whole lot of options. I guess I don't. I've heard Americans hate Pizza Hut, but I really like Pizza Hut. I don't know. It's really bad for you. It's really greasy, but it's good.
I don't mind Pizza Hut. I mean, I prefer Papa John's, but you know, Pizza Hut's okay.
But actually, I think I do like Pizza Hut more.
Right, and you, Acer?
I don't really like pizza.
Oh,
Oh!
okay. Well,
Oh my god. One of the very few people I've heard say that.
No, look, the question is, what's my favorite pizza restaurant? I don't go to restaurants to eat pizza. I eat pizza when there's nothing else.
that is a fair point.
But I mean, otherwise, it's all pretty much the same. I like Pizza Hut. I like there's a surprising amount of pizza restaurants here in Iceland. It's ridiculous. I like it all. I don't know. Pizza.
All right, we'll stick with that then. So here's a question you can actually answer. Bufudine asks, what are your favorite and least favorite Souls games? Demon's Souls and Bloodborne included. Ooh, I'm going to get some hate for this, because Bloodborne is my favorite and Demon's Souls is my least favorite.
Wow.
And I have to
Not
preface this by saying literally the only reason why Demon's Souls is my least favorite is purely because of the jank. If we're talking like the content, then it's a great game. But like after playing some of them, like after playing something like a Bloodborne and a Dark Souls 3, which are the most polished in the series, especially mechanically and control-wise, going back to Demon's Souls feels really weird. So as a result, like it's hard for me to go back to Demon's Souls, and that's really the only reason why.
Wow. You are going to get a lot of hate for that.
I have. I mentioned this on Twitter once, and people are like, "What the fuck?" People got pissed.
Yeah, but I actually think Demon's Souls is the best one. I played them in the order they came out in, so that was the first one I played. I think that's the best one because it's the darkest one. Dark Souls, it's kind of it's there's no real humanity to Dark Souls. It's a very sort of post-apocalyptic by Fallout sort of. It's more visual than anything else. But Demon's Souls, you're talking to these characters who had their kingdoms taken away from them. They're like stuck in like these horrible prisons, and I like that.
Yeah, Demon's Souls is really grim. Like the Tower of Latria is still like I think probably one of the best levels in the entire series. Like it's so good.
Especially from an atmosphere standpoint. Like it's thick with Lacrimus. It's just so like you can. It almost feels like you're being dripped on while you're in it. Like it's that like tangible.
Yeah. Just a side note, did you guys read Berserk?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Not read, but watched. I watched the anime. But...
Ah, yes. The 2016 masterpiece anime? Or
Yeah, no. No.
No, I made sure Floyd watched the 1997 anime.
No, that's good. That's a really good one.
Yeah, it's great adaptation.
I hate to be the guy who recites jokes he sees on memes, but there was this perfect Berserk 2016 meme which pretty much sums it up. This isn't funny because I'm reciting it, but I'm going to say it anyway. It was Berserk 2016 launched. It was like a news broadcast, and in the bottom screen it was ISIS refuses to take responsibility for this bomb.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that new Berserk anime is oh man. I saw like one episode and I tapped out. Because like the first episode is very similar to the first episode from the original 1997 series, and to see like how certain scenes were handled in one compared to the other, it was so bizarre. Because like this old ass anime that came out like literally like 20 years ago just blew the new one out of the water in terms of tone, in terms of like direction. Like it was just so much better. It was mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, like what's with the shading on the characters?
Oh yeah, like the weird pencil shading that going on.
Yeah, it's really
And
weird.
distracting.
Yeah. Did you? Well, you said you watched one episode,
Of the new one, yeah, and I tapped out.
and I brute forced my way through the first
What?
half of the series
Oh god.
until Griffith came back, and I said, "You know what? No, this this is not for me."
Couldn't do it.
And it's like the original Berserk has an amazing visual style because it's this like background anime artist who's apparently like been doing this for 50 years or something. You didn't need to do that. It just needed to look not like crap.
Yeah. Everything looks like shit in the new one.
Yeah, and because the thing is, with Berserk, even if it wasn't such a beautifully illustrated manga, the story and the characters and the world, it's good enough to carry you through it.
Yes.
The only thing the visuals needed to be was not distracting, and they screwed up.
I totally agree.
screwed it
I
up.
totally agree.
Going back, Demon Souls #1, Bloodborne #2, because I think it's like a really interesting evolution of the formula.
I'm glad
Then
we
I
both
played
at
the
least
original-
agree that Bloodborne is pretty awesome.
It is. Dark Souls in the middle, and I think Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 are kind of interchangeable, but for different reasons. I think Dark Souls 2, it's a very empty game. Like Miyazaki didn't direct it, and like you can feel it. Dark Souls 3 sort of feels like the best hits, and while you can feel Miyazaki's hands, like he was behind it, it seemed like you don't feel it. There's that soul, that there's something missing there. There's some magic missing.
Well,
I agree. I agree actually completely.
I would say that's probably because while Miyazaki did like become the director at some point, he wasn't there from the beginning.
That's probably it then.
Bloodborne just feels so, I don't know, like
Pure.
yeah.
I think I would say Bloodborne, Demon Souls, and Dark Souls are the most pure games in the series because all three of them are the most like raw vision of Miyazaki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Least favorite is really hard for me, honestly. You know what? I feel like it might be Dark Souls 3. No. It's the only one I've not replayed immediately after, and it's the only one I didn't obsess over. I just something about it. It just doesn't grab me in the ways the others do. Even though I admit that mechanically it's a lot better than previous games. I don't know. It felt, I don't know. It was weird. It's hard to describe. It just didn't grab me like the others do. Demon Souls, it would used to be my least favorite, but I've actually grown more admiration for it as time has went on. I think it actually probably might be one of my favorite ones, but the original Dark Souls is still my favorite. It's the one that introduced me to the series. I think it has the best world design, some of the best bosses, the best DLC in the series. Just like the atmosphere is incredible, though maybe not quite as good as like Demon Souls. But I don't know. Dark Souls is like, it's still my favorite game of all time. I don't know if that's ever going to change.
So I'm the only one that likes Dark Souls 3. I see how it is.
In fact, I love Dark Souls 3. It's just, I don't know. It might still be my least favorite.
Blasphemy. Motherfucker,
I do
putting
think that if
3 below 2. Get out of here.
2 at least tried to strike the series in an interesting new direction. It just didn't really
It didn't work. Except for the DLC. The DLC for 2 is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I'll give it that.
It's so good.
I didn't play it.
The DLC is arguably the best content in Dark Souls 2.
Oh, I'll probably get it. Is it worth rebuying the entire game on PS4?
Dollar of the First Sin version of it before.
Yeah, like if I got that, I'd get all the DLCs. Would it be worth it? Like $50?
I don't know about $50 because
You have to go through a lot to get to the DLC.
yeah, because I mean you still have to go through the main game in order to access the DLCs. Like it's probably recommended to do the DLCs like once you're near the end of the game.
No, I see.
So I mean, there would have to be that caveat of, are you willing to go through the base game again?
Would you?
It's weird though. Did you play just the base original Dark Souls 2? Because the Scholar of the Sin changed like item placements and things like that.
Yeah, I played it once, and I never went back to it. It was so just unbalanced. Like the entirety of
Still a lot
Dark
of stuff.
Souls 2 felt like the later half of Dark Souls 1. A great game, but like the second half of that game really needed like a couple of months to iron out.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. After the Lord Vessel, Dark Souls 1 kind of...
Yeah, I think that if Dark Souls had, if the later half of Dark Souls had been as good as the first half, then that would easily have been the best Souls game.
I can't argue with that.
But there's this, I don't know, it's...
That second half feels unfinished.
I think it probably was.
Yeah, I think even Miyazaki himself considers the first Dark Souls a failure. Like, I think I remember hearing him say that at one point.
Well, I think he said Lost Izalith and Bed of Chaos were. He thinks those are failures.
I know he apologized for Bed of Chaos. Like he said that like he knew it was shit and he apologized for it.
Like, you don't need to apologize. Just say, yeah, it's shit, but nope. There's some cultural differences here.
Yeah, that's true.
But hey, what are your favorite bosses from each game? That's part of the question I see too.
No, wait, that's a question later on. Someone else is asking that. Before we get to that question, Bio Gundam asks, have you played any SMT games? He's specifically referring to Shin Megami Tensei games. So, I've played... If we're talking about strictly just the main series, I've only played Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, which I never finished because I'm pretty sure... Yeah, I just remembered. My memory got erased. I was playing it on my PS3. I used to have one of the old fat PS3s that were backwards compatible, and it broke. So...
No.
Yeah, and there went all of my memory as well.
That sucks.
Yep, I lost a lot of PS2 saves on that, so I lost a lot. So I played like a chunk of that game, and that progress got lost. So I've never gotten the gumption to go back and play it as a result. But aside from that, I've beaten the first Digital Devil Saga. I've also beaten the first Devil Summoner, and I think that's about it. I know you've probably played a few, Floyd.
Yeah, I played. Or it's one of my favorite games. I played SMT4 Apocalypse. It was very disappointing. I mean, I guess spin-offs. I've played Persona 3.
Well, yeah, I mean 3, 4, and 5.
A bit of 2. Yeah. It though. Oh, Strange Journey I've played, which I wasn't too big into. I think that's it, though. Pretty sure that's it.
All right. Have you ever played any SMT games, Acer?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Didn't think so.
Are they anything like the Persona games?
Yes.
I probably
Yeah.
like. I have this thing. I have never played a Persona game, but I know that those are games I would really like if I took the time to play them. It was the same with Devil May Cry before I recently played those games. So probably I would like Shin Megami Tensei.
Cool. Yeah, Persona is like an offshoot of Shin Megami Tensei.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's more popular.
Yeah, it's actually I think someone else asks about this later on, so I won't bring it up just yet. But there is a question related to like the fan base between like Persona and the original series, so we'll get into that later. Next question is by Salazar Naruto 52. He asks, "Can someone say that they love a game even if they have never beaten it?" I think that's a pretty interesting question. So I think obviously we should just disqualify games that can't be beaten because that...
Like Tetris and Minecraft.
Yeah. That's something separate. So I would say on one hand, I love point-and-click adventure games that I've watched playthroughs of. So technically, I never even played those games, but I still love them because I really enjoyed the story and the characters. But the reason I watched playthroughs of them is because I don't find the gameplay of like Grim Fandango very interesting. I don't find the puzzles themselves very interesting. No. They're basically just moon logic and a bunch of weird nonsense that you under normal circumstances you would never think to do. So I don't find those aspects of the game interesting. So I cut that middleman out and I instead just watch playthroughs of them so I can enjoy the games purely for the reasons why I find them interesting. So yeah, I could say like you could love a game even if you've never even played it, let alone beat it.
Yeah, I would actually say that you have games made for Let's Players like Goat Simulator. Like nobody loves that game. Nobody would love that game if they played it. So, but also you have games like, I doubt a lot of people finished Grand Theft Auto 5 and still loved it. Like how many people really play the stories in the Call of Duty games?
It's true, yeah.
Not me.
A lot of people just love it purely because of the multiplayer. The zombies.
Maybe that falls into the bracket of like Tetris, where you can't really beat it.
Yeah, I think some people like to just run around in GTA and just blow shit up, and they'll just do that for hours. Going back to the question that was referenced before, we have, who is your favorite boss in each Soulsborne game? So, okay, shit. That's,
It's hard to remember names of them.
Yeah, so
for
Demon Souls, for whatever reason, this boss always stood out to me. I always really liked Tower Knight. I thought the design was really cool. I thought it was an interesting boss fight. Like it's arguably like not the best fight in the game, but I just really liked how it was a different fight. Like normally when you see just like a big dude, especially in a Souls game, you just kind of have to like throw yourself at him and wail at him and, hope for the best. But with this fight, I felt like there was a lot more thought put into it. Like you have to slash at his legs, and then he would topple over, and then you could slash at his head. So I felt like there was a little more nuance to it. In the first Dark Souls, I really liked the what the fuck is his name? It's the one that you find at the in the sewers. I think it was called the Howling Dragon.
Oh,
the Gaping Dragon. There we go. Yeah, I love that boss. Not because it's like a particularly great boss, but just because that design is fucking awesome. That design is amazing. Really love it. In Dark Souls 2, I really liked the DLC fight with the king, where you have to summon all of those knights to fight with you, and then the knights coming out of the gates, and it's basically like this like kind of like a little mini war that's going on, and eventually the king at the end comes through, and then you have basically you have to fight him with whatever dudes you have left until what inevitably happens is it's just you and him, and it's just a one-on-one duel, and I thought that was really cool. In Dark Souls 3, I really got a kick out of the final boss in the Ring City. It's a very Artorias-esque fight, with probably harder fight though. There's that guy had a few extra tricks up his sleeve, and I was just like a really fun fight. It felt like a really pure duel, and it was a really fun fight for me. And finally, for Bloodborne, I forget his name, but it's the boss with the moonlight sword.
Ludwig?
Ludwig, yeah.
Yeah, Ludwig. Yeah, that motherfucker.
Really?
All right, that
boss is like, ugh.
What?
I like it, but it's hard as fuck.
Yeah, he was a tough fight, but like, I just thought it was awesome. Like, it was just a really, really cool fight. It was a cool design. I also liked the cutscene leading up to the fight, and it was a good challenge. So there we go.
I think all the DLC fights in Bloodborne were pretty amazing, now that I think about it.
And like the living failures or whatever.
I almost want to switch it for the Maria fight. Like, Maria's fight was fucking great.
Oh yeah, Maria. Oh, that's a great fight, actually. Yeah, that's a good one.
The cutscene leading up to that fight too is oh my god, bone chilling. Where she grabs you, your hunter, and she like stares right in his face, and it's like, oh shit, so good.
So I like the memorable bosses a lot more than the fun, challenging bosses.
Okay.
So my answers are very boring. I like the real King Alant, who resides within the Great Old One in Demon's Souls.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
Even though he's just kind of a little blobby mess. In Dark Souls 1, I might actually switch it there because I really like Artorias. He's a really fun boss.
Yeah,
Like,
he is a great fight.
So good. So good.
With his little anime flips.
Yeah, he is Guts from Berserk, right? It's not just me.
Basically in the Berserker armor.
Yeah. Dark Souls 2, again, not a good fight, but it's memorable. It's that, what's his name? The king.
Yeah, the old king, the one that kind of like shambles.
Yeah, Vendrick, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I like that just because it's sort of, I saw a video somewhere, I don't know what it was, but it was basically talking about, like, here's all the things that could have made this game great or something. And they talked about him. And they mentioned that this could have been like, oh, this should have been the final boss fight, that the player goes in and it isn't just an epic fight. It's just this fight against this guy who's just lost his mind and who just stumbles about and doesn't do anything. Again, just he's a memorable fight, and I think that's a lot more interesting. In Dark Souls 3, I probably agree with you with Slave Knight Gale, the final boss fight of the Ringed City. He was tough.
Oh yeah, he was tough, but he was fun.
Yeah. The crossbow he had. He was also Guts because he had that crossbow.
yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that, but you're right.
And Bloodborne, again, like the Orphan of Kos was great.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Great.
I like
the
it.
Living Failures. You know, probably though, Mikolash from the Nightmare of Mensis, because like it's such a different boss, but it's very Lovecraftian because he's this insane scholar, and I like that.
I have like a weird story with that one. I don't know what it is. Every time I've fought him with friends, he always one-shots me with his tentacle attack. I don't know what it is. Like, no matter what I've got equipped, he always one-shots me. I don't understand it. Demon Souls, I'm going to go with the Old Monk.
Ooh, good choice.
It's one of the more creative boss battles in the series where another player can get summoned into it, which I find it weird that they didn't do something similar in a later game, but I think it just makes it all the more memorable.
They did it in the Ring City DLC.
Did they? Oh my god! Of course, the thing I didn't play. uh,
It wasn't as
okay.
good though. So
Lame. Dark Souls, it's Artorias, which I'd say might be my favorite boss in the entire series. I think it's just amazing. I like Ornstein and Smo a lot too. I think that's a really memorable fight that really tests your skill at that point of the game. It's like the breaking point for a lot of people, I find.
You know, I find that really funny because I've beaten Dark Souls 1 twice. And both times, I've beaten Ornstein and Smo on my first try.
Really? It's funny, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I've said I've said that to some people before, and, like, they either don't believe me or just, like, fuck you. Like...
Do you just exclusively use the Zweihander, or what's your strategy?
Actually, the first time I played the game, I went for a Dex build, and the second time I played the game, I went for a Strength build.
Strength build? Dex? What are you doing?
I just wanted to play the game differently.
Great scythe. Dark Souls 2. I'm going to go with what's that? Why don't I remember the name of it? But he's got like he summons all these like you have NPCs that fight alongside you. It's in the DLC. I forget what his name is though. I can't remember, but it's like this really long, drawn out, epic fight that I thought just was really like it's just like a great finish to the DLC, like the 3 DLCs in that game. Like Sir Alon is really good too in that game. Like the DLC in Dark Souls 2 in general just has like really awesome bosses.
Are you talking about the old Iron King?
Maybe? I don't know. Yeah, that probably is it then.
Okay, I think that was the one I was talking about.
Like you start and then the NPCs fight the other NPCs in the battle.
Yeah.
That one's probably my favorite.
Isn't that in the ice one? The ice area?
Yes. It's the final boss of the ice one, yeah.
Yeah, the ice DLC.
Yeah. Dark Souls 3, maybe this is why it's Dark Souls 3 doesn't really stand out to me. I don't remember a lot of the bosses in that game. I felt they kind of just blurred together. I can't even say what a favorite is, honestly. I remember liking the final boss a lot, but I don't know.
The Lord of Cinder?
Yeah.
I think there's like a hidden final boss in that game as well. I never fought that one.
Oh, the Nameless King. Okay. The Nameless King I might go with, but I thought it was really frustrating how you had to do both forms in one go. Like anytime you died at the second form, which would happen a lot since he was really fucking hard, you had to have to do the first form all over again. That really started to get to me, but the fight itself is really good. Like it's a really strong fight. Horn is Gurman, actually. I think that's just a really awesome one-on-one duel. Either that or Maria.
That's probably the most sort of mechanically perfect fight in the entire series.
Oh yeah. It's like it's just every attempt at him, I was just like, yeah, it's just great.
All right, next question is by Nano Retro. Any games that helped with your mood or state of mind, perhaps due to the point in your life in which you played it? He follows with, an example for me is Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker on Wii U. Not the greatest game by any stretch of the imagination. However, it really hit the spot for me as a bright, colorful, laid-back, and fun game at a time when I had been working tons of overtime, was mentally tired, and hadn't been gaming in a little bit. So, I can't think of any games specifically that fit this, because I just tend to play whatever game I feel like playing. I don't really think about playing a game because of my because I want to improve my mood or anything like that. I guess the closest I can go to is maybe I usually have like a weird ritual where like whenever I play a Metroid game, like I usually play like Metroid Zero Mission, Metroid Fusion, Metroid and Super Metroid, and I'll play the three of them like back to back. And I don't know if that necessarily like helped my mood or my state of mind or anything, but like it's kind of like a weird little ritual that I have. Like whenever I feel like playing Metroid, I would play like those three like back to back. So I guess that doesn't really answer the question, but I don't really have an answer. What about you, Floyd?
We're going back to Dark Souls again, but like when that game came out, like I was kind of like I don't know, every game I played just kind of felt the same. I was so disinterested in like the industry and everything, and I was just I don't know, my state of mind was kind of just like I don't know, in a different place. And then I played Dark Souls and I was like, "Oh shit." There was nothing like it at the time, and Demon Souls I kind of missed out on because I didn't have a PS3. Whereas I only had a 360, so Dark Souls, I was like, oh, I'll finally give this series a shot. And it's just like, it was so different from everything else at the time. And it got me back into video games. It got me into a better state of mind with like the whole industry. And then, I don't know, from there, I just played a bunch of other stuff. And I got more into like different styles of games after that, I think, as well. So I don't know, it just came out at the right time for me as well.
Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know if it's necessarily one that improved my state of mind or mood or anything like that, but like a game that had like similar, not the exact same effect, but similar was actually a visual novel called Fate Stay Night, which I was like really tired of like regular video games, and then came along this weird fucking novel thing that I was like, what the fuck is a visual novel? And you know what this is. And I just remember like reading through it and just became obsessed with it, and it kind of like opened me up to like that type of experience. So yeah,
I had a similar experience too with 999. That was the first like visual novel type game I played.
That game is so good.
Yeah. Experience actually with that one.
That game is awesome. What about you, Acer?
I don't know. Like I don't know if a game has ever really helped me in my life, but there are a lot of games where you play where like it has a prolonged effect on you, and you want to play a game for a specific effect. You play the Team Ico games; they're really good for all that sort of stuff. And like Shadow of the Colossus is probably the best answer I can give, in that it was like the biggest paradigm shift I'd ever had after playing a video game. But I don't know. I can't wholeheartedly answer the question.
Yeah, it's a very specific question, so it's hard to come up with a good answer for this. So let's go ahead and move on then. We have another by Ned993. He asks, "Have you oh my god, really? Have you seen the two pinnacles of English anime dubs, Ghost Stories and Garzy's Wing?"
I've never heard of these.
Garzy's was written by the original writer-director of Gundam, by the way. Don't remind me of that.
Editor.
So I've never sat down and watched Garzy's Wing, but what I have seen is pretty terrible. And the dub is pretty hilarious, though.
Known to be like over the top terrible.
Just
the dubs?
Really bad.
Okay, now I gotta check them out. There's
Garzy's Wing's dub is like The Room levels of like hilariously bad.
Oh man. I gotta see it.
But Ghost Stories is different, because Ghost Stories' dub, the voice actors were let loose, where they completely changed the script and they just said whatever they felt like. So instead of staying true to the original story, they just said whatever the hell they wanted, and they just turned the whole show into a joke. and it's pretty entertaining. The next one is there a game developer that you know their games are so good to the point where you'd buy any game they put out, no questions asked? He goes on to say, for me, it's Falcom. Every game they put out is so chock full of passion and care put into it that I would immediately buy a Falcom game no matter the genre, since I know it's going to be good. I would have said Platinum Games a few years back, but the Legend of Korra game, and especially the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, was pretty disappointing. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't have an answer, honestly. Like, I can't think of any developer where I'm like, yeah, every time. Like, there's usually some stinkers that a developer puts out. So, what do you... Well, you know what? Maybe From Software. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. But I don't know. I think they're working on some games that aren't, Souls games, and I don't know. Maybe one of them could be like super unappealing, and I'm just like, nah. But I don't know. I really liked their games.
Kojima, probably. The problem with this is that no studio that consistently makes great games stays in business. You have Looking Glass, they go bankrupt. You have Team Silent, they're dissolved.
I know. Team Silent, that hurts me so much.
I'm gonna go with Compile Heart. There's just quality.
Oh, yeah. You piece of shit.
I just love buying their games that come out every 6 months. They're so lazy.
Oh,
just ugh.
The Neptunia series is literally the worst.
Fuck Compile Heart.
Well, I remember one person called them like the equivalent of RPG sludge, and that's like, yeah, that's perfect.
No, in the industry today, it's probably just FromSoft that I really trust with it. I'm really interested in seeing, because they're apparently making another dark fantasy game which will play differently from the Souls games. I'm really interested in seeing that.
That sounds good.
That'd be cool.
What if it played like Kingsfield?
First person.
Yeah, first person.
Actually, now that I think about it.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
I mean, it's about time that they revive Kingsfield anyways.
Weren't they making... they made those mech games, the...
Armored Core.
Armored Core. Weren't they going to create like a Dark Souls for that, kind of a spiritual successor?
I don't know, but I'd play that too.
Yep. So FromSoft is the best answer we can give?
I guess so. They're they're the last bastion of hope in the gaming industry.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe CG Project Red, maybe? I don't know. They haven't done too much, though. Just like the Witcher games.
They've literally only made the Witcher games.
But Cyberpunk sounds really good. They haven't even shown it, but Cyberpunk 2077, I think. It's like everything. It sounds like everything I want from like a game, basically.
Yeah, The Witcher 3 was the game that kind of broke me, because I finally faced up to the fact that I need to buy a real television because it's so visually dense.
Wait, you have a fake television?
No, I have like a tiny little television.
Oh, okay. All right, so next up we have Dreadful Boredom. He has 3 questions. The first one is, what are examples of fandoms going overboard? And do you have any examples? Sonic?
Rick and Morty?
Oh, yeah, Rick and Morty. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I think you just, yeah, that's Yep, that's it. No, that's the blatantly correct answer.
They make me ashamed to like the show. Like, that's how bad they are.
Oh,
It's a sad feeling when you like something that's associated with like that kind of behavior. It's like, oh no.
oh no. I guess I didn't realize I was in the stupid crowd.
There's petitions for stuff that I've seen that are so stupid.
Like, just
Yeah, and they're asking for like, oh, we want this dipping sauce from McDonald's. Oh.
We're gonna do stupid shit in the McDonald's store and treat the employees like garbage because we just want this stupid sauce. Ah,
that one guy, that one guy that got on the counter at the McDonald's and was jumping up and down. He's like, "Oh, you Pickle Rick!"
Oh, I like.
Oh, the cringe. Oh, the cringe. Like, there apparently, I think it was in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There is something called like the perspective gun. I wish somebody could have shot that guy with the perspective gun so he would know exactly how everyone felt when they were watching him, and he would just go like, "Oh no, oh no, what have I done?" Yeah, I don't think there's a better answer than that.
No, you started something with Sonic, though. I'd like to explore that a bit because I'm not a big fan of Sonic.
Well, Sonic's fan base are the fucking worst. I mean, they're filled with a bunch of man-children, and they masturbate to bestiality. Like, how much worse can you possibly get than that? Like, do I need to say anything else?
no matter how bad a Sonic game gets, they'll just defend it. They'll just be like, so it's like, I don't know. I don't get Sonic.
You suppose there's some overlap between the Sonic fan base and the 30-year-old My Little Pony fan base?
Yes.
That's a fan base I don't understand. I've seen that show. I watch it often with my little sister. She really likes it. And it's just these ponies and their friends. What? I don't like. You're dedicating your life to this? What?
I don't get it either.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like some. I don't know.
And then have you seen the videos where they're going to conventions and they're asking like about the pornography that exists around it, and the voice actors are all so uncomfortable and they don't like it.
Oh God! Why would you do that?
Because they're not in tune with reality. They live in basements or.
Oh, let's move. The conversation is going to a bad place. I'm gonna steer it back on track. Okay, so next question. What games are incredibly overrated by even today's standards and generation, if there is some fans of that mentality still existing? Okay, this is actually kind of a awkwardly phrased question, so I'll repeat that. What games are incredibly overrated by even today's standards and generation, if there is some fans of that mentality still existing? So, okay, I'm guess this person is trying to ask, like, what's something that's so overrated that like that it's been overrated for a while, and that like even to this day, like there are still people that are like overpraising it. At least that's how I kind of took the question.
I feel like a lot of people
that get overrated in video games, they kind of get like there's an adjustment period that usually occurs. I remember when Bioshock Infinite came out, everybody raved about it, and then a week later, like even the people were saying, "Well, this isn't very good. Look at all these problems it has," and people were like, "Oh yeah, huh."
Teen too. When it first came out, everyone was like, "Oh, this is great." Like a week later, it's like, "Oh wait, no, it's not."
gamers, I think, are cynical enough that they rightly call out people on this sort of nonsense.
Yeah, I think gamers in general, like nowadays, have become like much more cynical than they used to be.
This being said, I I think I guess I could say The Last of Us, which is a good game, but I remember that game being paraded around as it's the new Ocarina of Time. It beat it out. It's the best game ever. It's good. It's it's better than most games. Best game of all time. I mean, come on.
I remember for a long time, Halo was super overpraised. Like, like
Everyone does. No one wants Halo anymore.
yeah, but and now no one gives a fuck about Halo anymore, like at all.
Yeah, didn't that die? Just like didn't Halo die when Bungie left? When the Bungie abandoned it?
Yeah, when Bungie abandoned it, I think that's when Halo, like nobody cared about Halo anymore, except for like, I guess the really diehard fans, but and a few normies, but yeah, no. So I can't really think of any like, I can't really think of a game that's like the extreme levels of overratedness that we used to endure like back in the day. Like I don't think that happens as much anymore. So the final question by Dreadful Boredom is: when do you think there'll be an end to the whole "it's hard like Dark Souls" or "it's the Dark Souls of platformers," etc.? Or do you think this meme will continue on? I do feel like we're starting to wind down on this. I feel like, especially with Cuphead and Crash Bandicoot and the blowback that came about because of those games being compared to Dark Souls, I think now people are like a lot more wary to bring up that comparison anymore, just because of how overdone it is and how much of a negative connotation there is to bringing this up.
I think our podcast is the Dark Souls of podcasts.
Oh, of course.
But also, what does that even mean?
It's like meaningless at this point. The whole thing. I don't know.
I really like the really like Baroque, like really bizarre comparisons of like, oh, Demon Souls is the Dark Souls of Bloodborne. Like,
Okay.
those are the best. It's like, oh, I'm playing Cuphead. Clearly, it is the Dark Souls of Crash Bandicoot. Like,
Yeah, I guess when you get that done with it, it's funny.
all right. So the funny nerd asks, is 2017 the best year in video games? If not, then what is? So I mean 2017 has been a pretty great year for gaming, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd say it's the best one yet. I mean, I typically don't even really like to look at games like that, like oh, what was the best year in gaming? Like, because I don't really think about things like that. So I can't really say what would be the best year in gaming, but I'll say that like 2017 is a notable year at the very least. Like it's pretty great.
Yeah.
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 That being said, the objectively correct answer is 1998.
Well, now that you brought it up, please elaborate.
You had Half-Life, Ocarina of Time, Metal Gear Solid, Apes Exodus, Grim Fandango, Thief. I think Fallout 2 came out that year. It was like just so many hugely impactful video games, and it's actually true what you said, that it's not maybe right to look at it that way, because you can't have that again. We're not going to have that time where every single game is a game changer again. So maybe there isn't an objectively correct answer.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
just it's also a matter of like, did people in 1998 were they saying like this is the game changer? This is
Pokemon Red and Blue came out that year too.
Is 1998 the best year in gaming? And then no, it's 92, you fools.
what the fuck came out in 1992?
Something probably.
I'm actually curious now. Mortal Kombat, Super Mario Kart, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Wolfenstein 3D, Super Mario Land 2, Night Trap, that's a classic. Kirby,
There you go.
Kirby's Dream Land, Final Fantasy 5, Flashback, Contra 3: The Alien Wars, Ultima 8. No wait, is that 8? That's 7. Ultima Underworld, Dark Seed, Dragon Quest V, Virtual Racing, Mega Man 5, Streets of Rage 2, Eco the Dolphin, Super Star Wars, Darkwing Duck. That was a pretty decent platformer. It's
O'Hare.
Mario Paint.
What? That cannot be like a game people fondly remember.
Hey man, people
Right.
fucking love Mario Paint, okay? The Magical Quest starring Mickey Mouse. I fucking loved that game as a kid, okay? Soul Blazer, Alone in the Dark came out in 92? Shit. Cybernator. Isn't that just Contra?
No.
No? Okay. I must be thinking I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, the European name for
Yeah.
Contra was some cyber baller or something. Cyber something, I don't know.
Yeah, it was Cyber something or other.
It was a weird name.
And Bucky O'Hare. So
Well,
Awesome.
then obviously it's 1992. Bucky O'Hare, I mean, and Mario Paint.
clearly 1992 is the hidden gem of video game years that people have not given proper credit to. So yeah, it's official. 92 is the best.
Objectively.
If you disagree, I'm sorry, you have bad opinions. So next question is SMT mainline versus Persona. Why the beef? And why is Persona subjectively better? I'm sorry. What does that mean? What?
If you know Leo, he's a troll.
He is. He is. So why is to answer this seriously? Why is there beef? So I think there's a pretty strong distinction between fans of Persona and fans of the original SMT series, because the original SMT games are much darker. They focus very primarily on the themes of like law versus chaos, while Persona deals with its own stuff. And Persona is also a lot more anime, and I think that's what really bothers the fans of the original mainline series, where I don't agree with this perception, but I think from their perspective, Persona took what was established in the mainline SMT games and made it mainstream. It would be like if your favorite band is a Norwegian death metal band, and then they suddenly came out with a pop punk album.
It's sort of like the Dark Souls of Demon Souls.
Exactly. But I personally wouldn't agree with that. I would say like it would be more like if a prog metal band came out with a prog rock album. I think the fundamentals are the same. It just has a different flavoring.
Like when Metallica cut their hair.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, when they went from thrash metal to just
Load and reload. Certainly a load. But yeah, I think that's kind of like why there's it's friction between the two fan bases, because like I think the original SMT fans are being a little snooty, and they're kind of like, snubbing their nose at the more casual Persona fans. But I don't really think that's fair. What do you think, Floyd?
Yeah, I can. In some ways, I can understand, but for the most part, not. Like, I mean, because the Persona's got all the dating elements too, and Persona has now become so much more popular than the mainline games. I'm sure a lot of mainline fans are kind of, I don't know, maybe a little bummed that the mainline series hasn't quite hit the mainstream in the way Persona has. But I mean, because of the success of Persona, I think that means we're gonna get more SMT games. I mean, look, we're getting the new SMT on Switch, which is awesome. So I don't know. They're continuing to make both, so I don't really think people should be so angry at one series or the other.
I totally agree. And the final question, I guess, is the only question that I can answer by Stay Skeptic, you fucking troll. What is a Shintai?
What is a Shintai? What is a Shintai?
More and more, I regret sticking with this stupid name. Like, one of these, I've kind of thought like a few times, like maybe I should just change it to my real name or something, or a variation of my name. But then I would think like, man, people will just get confused. Like, why did I have to come up with such a weeby fucking name? Like, god damn it. There's a little bit of a story to the name, so I'll tell the story. So basically, when I was I think it was in middle school or high school, I went over to a friend's house, and he had a copy of a game called Shining Tears, which is this action RPG. It's part of the Shining series, related to like Shining Force. And except it's an action RPG for some reason. And in the game, I don't know if it was because the actor was bad. I don't know if the audio mixing was bad or what. But whenever the main character would do a certain attack, he would say a line, and I misheard it as him saying Shintai. And me being like a super weeby fucking teenager going like, Shintai, that sounds cool. I'm gonna use that name for myself. And yeah. Turns out he was actually saying, because he uses electrical attacks, he was saying shock time. Ugh. Yeah, really riveting writing here. So I would just use that name. And eventually, though, I found out that it's an actual Japanese word for some reason. And last time I checked, it actually stands for holy instrument.
Huh.
So it's like some apparently Mount Fuji is considered a Shintai. It is considered like a sacred holy instrument. That's where my shitty name came from. I'm still debating whether I should get rid of it or not, but I guess I'm stuck with it. I guess I'm stuck with it. I've had it for long enough.
Change it. You should slowly change each letter until it just says shock time.
Yep, that sounds like a good plan.
Yes, I will now be shock time. That's beautiful.
You better change that.
Oh man,
Do it now.
Well, I have to say, for the folks that are looking forward to the instrumentality project, this episode's gone on for long enough, so like there's no way we're gonna do it, but we're gonna talk about it next time. So Ultimate Floyd, be ready to talk about Area 88 and Gungrave some more when we record again. Sorry for those that look forward to that section of the podcast, but it wouldn't really be fair to our guest, and also like this episode's long as fuck. So anyways, that's pretty much it. That's an episode. I want to thank you for joining us, Acer. It's such a pleasure to have you. Like, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass when I say, like, I genuinely really enjoy your videos. I think you make excellent content, and I implore everyone listening to please check out his channel. The link will be in the description, And you will not be disappointed. If you really enjoy deep dives into games, really insightful analysis that go into the not just analyzing the games themselves, but also some insight on the development of these games, I think you'll really enjoy his channel. Doesn't have enough subscribers. Really give him some love. I think you'll really appreciate it. And again, man, thank you for coming. It was really a pleasure to have you.
I'm just smiles ear from ear. Wow. Thanks. Really happy to hear you say that. And it's been great being here. You guys are very good company.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, this was awesome. This is quite fun.
All right, thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. This has been Shintai, Ultimate Floyd, and Ace Their Aesthetics. Take care, everyone.
Later.
Bye-bye.